All right, so this week, I wanted to talk a little bit, or a lot of bit, about the importance of standing on principle. And what got me thinking about this is the fact that I've observed a lot of bravado recently in our world. People sharing their views with one another, communicating in ways that leaves very little opportunity for anyone to speak back. Two-way conversations aren't happening like they used to. And then we expect others to buy into our beliefs and our values. Typically, what is being said when that bravado occurs is personal opinion, personal preference, my personal rules for life. But they aren't spiritual principles. And without spiritual principles at the foundation, we actually can't change the way we all get along. Every religion has taught us that spiritual principles are what matter most. How many times have we all heard in our life that we are spiritual beings having a human experience? Okay, why do we keep forgetting that one little statement? We aren't human beings trying to find spiritual experiences. We're spiritual beings trying to navigate human experiences. But we keep missing that piece of the path. When you read what various religions teach us about humanness and how we were born, it's hard to believe and forget that we were incredibly and are incredibly powerful people. I'm going to share a few of the religious views about how we are when we come into this world. Christianity, Genesis says, let us make man in our own image, in our likeness. Whose image are we in? God's image, right? Right there, first sentence. And just ignore the fact that it always says man, because it means human. Judaism says everything created in the world exists in man. We already have it. Everything. The Quran says God has made all things in the heavens and on earth available to you, and his bounties flow in exceeding measure, both seen and unseen, visible, invisible. Hinduism, God exists in all beings, but is most manifest in humans, and the human heart is God's favorite dwelling place. It's one of my favorite sayings. The human heart is one of God's favorite dwelling places. So if it's pretty powerful stuff and we already know that, and we were born with that strength, why is it that we keep spouting out through the mouth with stuff that nobody needs to hear? Why? I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. Sir John Templeton asks us to consider this very important question. Is it possible that our purpose in this lifetime is to act as agents of God? Agents of God in helping accelerate God's creativity. Could we buy into seeing ourselves as agents of God on this planet, here to accelerate God's good? And if we saw ourselves like that, wouldn't we say things differently than we do? I think so. He goes on to say that understanding why we are created can best be answered by how we live our life. Think about that. Why are we created? If you keep wondering, why am I here? Just ask yourself, how are you living your life? And then you'll know why you're here. You're here to help others. You're here to share your talents. You're here to learn from others. You're here to learn from their talents. You're not the almighty know-it-all, and neither are they. It's a shared experience here, and we're all here trying to do the same thing, but we don't do it very well. Mark Zuckerberg, the creator of Facebook, makes three important points about purpose, and I'm going to reframe them in just a minute. He says the challenge for our generation is creating a world where everyone has a sense of purpose. That's number one. Number two, he says purpose is that sense that we are a part of something bigger than us, that we're needed, and that we have something better ahead to do in this lifetime. And number three is that purpose is what creates happiness. Now, if we reframe that from a totally spiritual lens, this is what I think it would sound like. Create a world where everyone can be an agent of God and bring value. Recognize that we're part of something bigger than ourselves, that we're needed and have God's work to do here. And number three, whatever you do, do it from a place of joy. Which is what we talked about last week, about not getting to a place where our resentments are so great and our anger is so great and our expectations for others are so unrealistic that we can't be people of spiritual happiness and fulfillment. In every decision we face, we have to make a conscious choice to stand on principle rather than give in to the pressure and personal truths of others. This is where it becomes important to stop following and be a leader. To have the courage to say what you think will help. Not just say, I didn't want to say anything because I don't want to upset anybody. You don't have to say something that upsets someone. You can say something that helps somebody else find peace. We all can. But it's going to require us learning to educate people, not lecture them. And that's one of the pieces that I think is also missing right now. When we educate people and we just inform them, they'll make their own choices, but we're bringing something to the situation that they may not have. Author and CEO Richard Leiter says that at the end of every day, we should reflect upon the activities that have been life-giving and those that have been life-draining. Now, how many of you would agree you know the difference? Right? Because we feel different when life-draining is happening, right? We're like, oh my gosh, life just terrible, right? And when it's life-giving, what are we? Oh, good morning, hello. We're such lovely people. But the truth is sometimes we are the cause of those life-draining events because we don't know when to stop. We don't know when to give, and we don't know when to receive. You know, just thinking about the importance of standing on principle, he says that if you want to know whether you're life-giving or life-draining, write it down every day. How much of your experience in a day was life-giving? How much was life-draining? And when we add those life-giving experiences to our everyday life, we'll be supporting the progress of society, which, by the way, is one of our reasons for acting as agents of God. One of my favorite teachings of Buddhism, is that they teach people the importance of striving to further the development of humanity and working for the benefit of the majority, not for oneself. It's such a beautiful principle. So when we get into those places where it's all about me, we need to think, are we working for the majority? Are we working for ourselves? Is this life-giving? Is this life-draining? Sir John Templeton explains we can only get to that point of developing humanity and growing society. The only way we can get there, he says, is when our consciousness starts going within and not out. The more time we spend inward, in prayer, self-reflection, meditation, recognizing how we just behaved, the more we do that, the more we will advance society because we will evolve. And the more we evolve, the people around us have the potential to evolve. He explains if we can research what is needed through that inner wisdom, we can form a partnership with that universal divine energy that exists, and we can become a bridge as agents of God between the invisible and the visible. What a beautiful thought, to see ourselves as a bridge between the external and the internal. He asks us to think about what our lives might be like if we confidently and continually release that creativity, that divine creativity within us. And he makes this statement: high aims and clear purpose can act as rudders, steering the unlimited and unique potential of our minds toward beneficial productivity. But if we're going to do that and build those bridges, we are going to have a very strong, principled foundation so that we can stand on that spiritual principle no matter what we're facing. So I want to ask you to just consider 3 questions. Just ponder these this week. What spiritual principles serve as the foundation for your life? Are those principles visible in how you live your life each day? And could someone shadow any of us? Could someone shadow me all day and easily observe what my principles are, my spiritual principles, without me having to shove them down their throat? I want you to really think about the third one, because it makes you behave differently when you start thinking it. I started monitoring. Would I want someone to be shadowing me in this moment? Probably not. There are many of those probably not moments. But if we could live like that, wouldn't we get to a place of being better every day? Thank you. Was that you, Sam? Thank you. Somebody's listening. The other side of this is, are we just employing principles as a pick of the day? Oh, today I'm going to be more godly. Oh, that was Tuesday. What am I going to do on Wednesday? Is it determined by our mindset? Is it being determined by all the external forces? Because for most of us, the answer is yes. My principles are better visible when I'm having a good day, when my life is going well. But it can't work like that. For many of us, our life experiences lead us to understanding the importance of standing on principle, which is, by the way, what happened to Gandhi. If you ever read about Gandhi's story, it's one of my favorite. I know I've shared this story in the past years for some reason. But he advanced society and improved humanity in his own way, and it wasn't easy for him to figure that out. But he always stood on principle. He was age 18. He sailed from India to London to study law and passed the bar. He returned to India. He lost his first case, and he left India, but this time for South Africa. Still thinking he's supposed to be a lawyer in his life, he tried again to advocate for a client, but because he was so nervous speaking in front of people, he literally ran out of the courthouse and ended up reimbursing his client for the fees. But then another experience in South Africa deeply affected him and placed him on a path that changed his life and the life of others. While traveling first class on a train, he was removed from his carriage after a white passenger complained about him. From that point on, Gandhi led an 8-year campaign of civil disobedience, fighting for the freedom and equality of all people, specifically for the freedom of India from Great Britain using non-violence. Now remember, he left India because he was ashamed of his abilities, but he returned after having changed the future of an entire country because he stood on principle. If we're going to live as agents of God to improve our world and build these bridges, we have to figure out, what will we stand on? What principles will we stand on? We need a rock-solid foundation of self-respect, respect for others, fairness, integrity, and truth with a capital T. Gene Wise tells us that a steadfast person is steady, calm, and even-tempered no matter what happens. It's the quality of constant spiritual stability that a person chooses by remaining firm in their beliefs and convictions of godly principles. But steadfast is not balancing on one foot and trying to stay upright. It's standing on a solid foundation and facing every situation from a place of faith and principle. So I want to end with this message from Sir John. Sometimes we may be unable to measure the work we've accomplished, but progress is stamped indelibly on our souls and on the souls of those we've helped along the way. The service we humbly give to others beyond our days on earth. Let's review our takeaways. Standing on spiritual principle requires us to do the following. First, lead rather than follow, and trust that inner wisdom for our guidance. Number 2, educate rather than lecture and speak from your heart, not your ego. Number 3, to maintain a strong foundation, to trust in divine versus human truth. And number 4, to be the change you wish to see in the world, which is what Gandhi wrote, and help society move forward by example. The affirmation I wrote for today is, I am standing on spiritual principle. Let's say that together. I am standing on spiritual principle. And I chose this quote from the second president of the United States, John Adams. Always stand on principle, even when you stand alone. Let's take that in. So we pause now to reflect upon the capabilities we were born with. The reason we are here as spiritual beings on a human journey, the need for us to become better agents of God and to stand on principle that is spiritually grounded. And so with that in mind, we say thank you, God, for all the good we will do in this lifetime. And so it is. Amen.